Hey everyone, this is Pete, and welcome back to Atari ST A to Z, a series of short playthroughs of Atari ST games, some which I grew up with and some which are new to me. Today is one of the former. Today we're having a look at Thunderbirds, which is a 1989 adaptation of the classic Gerry Anderson puppet show released by Grandslam. And the game is a side-on action-adventure that primarily revolves around solving puzzles using items and so on. And it was very well received back in the day, but drew a bit of criticism for having illogical puzzles, although that was nothing unusual for this sort of game back in the day. I remember enjoying this quite a bit, but never actually being able to sort of solve many of those puzzles, so I think that was probably a fairly accurate perception of it. Now I've got a physical copy of here. It's a little bit dinged up, a little bit squished at the side, because like most of Grandslam's boxes, this was a sort of fairly flimsy cardboard affair. But we'll... Oh, it's coming apart completely. See what we've got in here. So, game on 2 discs. Then we've got a Grandslam frequent buyer bonus voucher. Doesn't actually say what that's for. A registration card. And then we've got the manual here, which explains to you how to play the game. So the Thunderbirds computer game is in 4 parts of increasing difficulty. The objectives of each part is detailed later in this guide. So the basic formula of the game, as you'll see when we start playing it, is that you control 2 characters who can each carry a couple of objects. You choose some objects to take with you on the mission in the first place, so there's a bit of trial and error involved there. And yeah, you have to sort of solve a particular mission using those items and those 2 characters that you take along with you. So it was an interesting game. A couple of things that are missing from this package that I'm not sure where they've gone, but there was a music cassette in there that had the Thunderbirds theme on it. That seems to have gone walkies at some point. And there was also a poster, which I remember having on the wall because I used to like Lady Penelope. Anyway, yeah, doesn't say what that bonus voucher is for anywhere on here. And I got this game for £3.99 from Dowling Computers, the computer specialist. Can't even remember where that was. Anyway. Alright, let's go play Thunderbirds. Okay, here we are with Thunderbirds by Grandslam, an adaptation of the popular Gerry Anderson TV show. This is a game I have quite mixed feelings about because it's very well presented and it's a good idea. But there's just certain aspects of the execution that kind of put me off a bit. You'll probably see what I mean when we start playing it here. So, I mean, you've got these lovely, for the time anyway, video sequences in the corner of the screen. You've got 4 completely different missions to play through, all of which involve sort of using 2 different characters to work together and make use of items and all sorts of things. So, we'll just try and play through the first one today. I'm not going to guarantee I'll get all the way through it because there's... Well, you'll see. You'll see. So the concept of the first mission is that Brains and Alan from the TV show have to rescue 2 trapped miners. Brains goes in with the mole, which you can see in the video sequence in the corner. He's drilling down to where it starts. And Alan starts in the control room at the top of the mine. So basically they both need to get to where the miners are. So they can then attach the grab from Thunderbird 2 and rescue them. Okay, so you start each mission in this way by selecting 2 objects for each of the characters to take with them. Now, the slightly upsetting thing about this part here is that there are red herrings amongst those objects. So some of them are completely useless. So, here we are with Alan, who can wander around and head down ladders and that sort of thing. We actually want to start with Brains though, so we hit the spacebar to switch between characters. And we send Brains on his way from the mole. So it actually gives you a couple of suggestions of what to do first for this first mission in the game's manual. So the first couple of things you want to do is you need to find a hammer to fix a lift. And you need to find a spanner in order to fix a water pump which prevents the mine from flooding. And for a lot of this mission you have to avoid stalactites falling from the ceiling, which will deal damage to you. Now this is one of the first issues I have with this game. In that it's not an action game. It's clearly an adventure game involving using items in the right place to solve particular problems. But the addition of stuff like these falling stalactites and your health bars, and yes, it adds some challenge to it, but it's not very well implemented. Like, those stalactites fall much too quickly for you to be able to respond to them. So a lot of it is luck avoiding them. Alright, so I'm going to leave the torch here and grab this hammer. And then we'll head up here. Incidentally, if you're wondering, you can press the H key to find out exactly what you're actually carrying if you're not sure what the icons represent. So here it says you are carrying a heavy hammer and a rusty spanner. Alright, so the heavy hammer we use on this lift here, which is stuck. We can then ride that lift up to use the spanner. And this lift moves in real time, so it is possible to miss it. And it goes through quite a few floors, so that means if you do miss it, you're sitting around for several minutes of real time. So don't do that, because it's dull. As I say, this game has a bunch of sort of design issues with it, but I can sort of forgive quite a lot of them, because at the time this was released, actually, if we're quick enough, oh no, I don't think we're quick enough. No, I have to come back for that. We need to come back for the torch anyway, so that's fine. Yeah, at the time this was released, the idea of sort of combining action adventures with direct control over your character with sort of traditional adventure game elements, like using items to solve puzzles and that sort of thing, we're still pretty new. I mean, it's something we are very used to these days. So that's the water pump taken care of. So the mine will now not flood. Hopefully we'll be quick enough. Yes. Wonderful stuff. Yeah, like I say, today in games we're perfectly accustomed to having direct control of our characters and solving puzzles with them. So we've got games like Zelda, but then even sort of your average, what we think of as AAA games these days, tend to combine both action and adventure elements to them. And the survival horror genre as well is essentially what I'm talking about here. It's a combination of action game and adventure game mechanics. But when this game was first released, developers were still sort of trying to figure out the best way to do these things, and not always getting it right. But since they were quite literally trying to essentially define a new genre, or a new fusion of genres at the very least, I can kind of forgive that. I can understand that. I get it. At least they were trying to do something interesting. And when you look back at sort of the running joke that was Ocean's movie and TV adaptations from the era, which were pretty much all platform games, then you can kind of respect this game doing something a little bit different. I mean, it might not look remarkable or super exciting from what you're watching on screen right now, and I guess it isn't. It's not an action-packed game. And despite the number of explosions and stuff that there were in the Thunderbirds TV show, that wasn't necessarily an action-packed show either. Because they were kind of limited by the medium. They were limited by the fact that it was puppets. Ah, beautifully timed. Beautifully timed. yeah, it was limited by the fact that they were using puppets, so there was only so much that they could do. And I guess the game is kind of the same way. And in that sense, it's kind of authentic to the show, in that it's... Yes, there are things at stake, but it's... I don't know, it's like you're not like fighting off enemies or anything like that. There is a final mission where you're attempting to take down the Hood, who is sort of the recurring bad guy of the Thunderbirds TV series, but for the most part, you're doing... I mean, no kind of rescue is mundane, really, but you're doing sort of fairly... what you would expect a rescue service to be doing, like rescuing people who are stuck in mines and that sort of thing. Right, the reason I had to get the torch is a little bit further along here. There's a room that is completely dark if you're not carrying the torch with you. And if you don't have the torch with you, when you enter the room, you will lose your health very, very rapidly and lose. So obviously we don't want that to happen. This is the dark room here. So we just proceed through here with the torch. I'm just going to drop this plunger here and go back and grab a piece of fuse wire that we saw on a previous screen, and I'm still carrying the torch so I can still safely get through the dark room. This is all stuff you have to learn by sort of trial and error, or by reading a walkthrough. I'll let you guess which one I did. But yeah, I guess that was where the game's longevity was supposed to come from. And that includes sort of the choice of items you have at the start of the mission. You're supposed to sort of use trial and error to figure out which items are useful and which ones aren't. But again, that's an aspect of the game's design that I think they put in as a sort of experiment to see if it works, and it doesn't really work because it's not fair on the player. It's not fair to give the player a choice of items before they've seen what they're supposed to be getting on with. Right, so I'm going to drop the torch there, pick up the detonator again, and over here it says it looks like this dynamite has not gone off. So we need to make it go off. Now this is a bit I've never sort of quite managed to get working properly for some reason. I think what you're supposed to do is just use the detonator in here somewhere. But I never seem to be able to get it working for some reason. What does it think we're carrying? You are carrying a dynamite plunger and a length of fuse wire. Okay. So I guess in theory what we should do is use the fuse wire here, which I just pressed the fire button on, and then oh, there we go. It worked, finally. Never got that to work before for some reason. But anyway, now we can proceed through here. And down here. And continue along here. And there's our miner that we need to rescue. Okay, so that's Brains taken care of. We now need to switch to Alan. Actually, he had the smuggest sprite in the world. So very smug. But I also don't know what he's doing with his idle animation. Like, look, if he just stands there, he just looks like he's puffing out his cheeks repeatedly. And I don't know why. I don't know why he's doing that. Right, what is that thing? You are carrying a pneumatic drill. Okay, don't think we need that yet. I think we need the grease can first. But we should remember that's there. We do need this ladder. In order to cross this gap here. There we go. Otherwise you fall down that gap and you hurt yourself. Which is not a good thing for a Thunderbird to be doing. So yeah, as you can see, this is a pretty sedate game in a lot of ways. The action elements are fairly minimal. There's some stealth elements in some of the later missions. That is a mission that involves Lady Penelope and Parker sneaking into the Bank of England. And in that one, that involves a bit of sneaking around and trying not to get spotted and caught by guards and that sort of thing. But for the most part, this game is about exploring and using items in the right place, and occasionally avoiding obstacles. Which, like I say, is entirely appropriate for an adaptation of the Thunderbirds series. Because in essence, most of what they were doing in each episode of that TV series was solving a problem of some description. How do we oil this then? Like this. There we go. Then we can push this along. Do we just push or do we have to waggle? Come on, Alan, you can do it. Come on. Come on, Alan. There we go. Whee! I don't know what they're doing with the puffy cheeks thing with him. As far as I'm aware, that was not an aspect of Alan's original character. Right, before I go across there, I'm going to go back and get that pneumatic drill because I know that I need that later on. And it will really suck to not have it. So pretty sure we're done with the oil can now though. So we can safely swap that for the drill. I always find it interesting in this game that characters climb up the back of ladders. That was not something I'd ever seen before in a game like this. Normally in 2D platformers, you used to seeing the back of characters as they climb up the front of ladders. But no, this game had to do things a bit differently. And why not, say I? Why not? We're getting quite short on time. I don't think there's a ton more we need to do though. Just a lot of walking. But that's okay. We're used to that in modern games. Right, swap that for... No. That, thank you. And head all the way back. Go for a run button. Oh. Oh. Did my ladder break? If so, that really sucks. Because that now means I can't finish the mission. I'm going to have to come back to you. I'll be back when I've returned to this point. And we're back. So, it turns out that that pneumatic drill at the start is a red herring, because there's another one here, which is just slightly to the right of where the cart we need to oil is. So all we need to do is oil up that bad boy, give it a push, come on Alan, come on, come on, you got this, heave. I don't think you have to waggle. Maybe you do. I'm sure it's sped up by now last time. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. He didn't do the animation of the oil can for some reason. He just seems to be pushing it very slowly. Well, I guess we'll wait. Come on, get those last few pixels off. No, he really is going to go that whole way at low speed. Well, we'll fast forward through this, shall we? That's not left us with a lot of time. So I'm not entirely sure what went wrong there. Why the oil can didn't work. But we'll see. We'll see if we can make it in time. So we need to grab this. Yeah, there's no way that's going to be enough time. You know what, I at least had the foresight to prepare a memory snapshot this time, so let's just load that in, and I'll be right back. Right, this time it's working, by Jove. So off you go, Ellen, flying around with your big puffy cheeks. Whee! And then floop, and then we head back this way. Excuse me, hiccuping. This recording session would be enough to drive anyone to drink. Right, now this pneumatic drill. Walk over the bridge we've cleverly created with the cart. Have stalactites fall on our head, as is tradition. Ow. Ow. Take the lift. Right, so we can't go through that wall at the minute. And there is no power to the drill. Okay, so we need to find a cable to use with the drill, which I think might be this strange object here. I hope, anyway. What are we carrying? You are carrying a pneumatic drill and a compressor cable. That sounds right. Okay, so I guess we hook the compressor cable up to this thing, maybe? Oh yeah, there we go. And then use the drill. And we made it. Brains here. Virgil. Send the grab down, please. FAB brains. It's on its way. I'll head back to the mole. FAB brains. Alright. So we've accomplished most of the mission. All we need to do now is get Brains back to where he started, and we are done. We can leave this godforsaken mission behind. and then move on to the next one. No, I'm kidding. I won't put you through another mission. I can say with some confidence that recording this playthrough of this game has been the biggest pain in the arse in the entire history of Atari A to Z to date. I suspected it would be, and that's why I've been putting off covering this game, because I remembered this game being a bit of a pain. Just evidently I didn't remember quite how much. But never mind. Barring an absolute disaster happening on the way back, which is entirely possible, I won't lie, I think we've done it. I was half expecting that to leave without me. That would have been just the cherry on the cake. I've no idea what Brains' idle animation is. It's even more bizarre than Alan's. It looks like he's saying something, but he's not saying anything. He's just sitting there stuttering to himself, wondering why he's in such an unforgiving game for the Atari ST. Right, so we're just going to have a few rooms of stalactites to avoid on the way back. Just have to make sure we don't die from those, because that would suck. And of course not run out of time either. Which hopefully we shouldn't. I'm pretty sure we got enough time to get back. That is tight though. That was doing everything pretty much as quickly as possible, and you still end up with that little amount of time left. So not a lot of margin for error. And we've done it. Congratulations on a successful mission. The miners were rescued. The password to mission 2 is recovery. So, if you want to try Thunderbirds, the video game, for yourself and jump straight to mission 2, the password is recovery. I can also exclusively reveal that the password for mission 3 is Aloysius, which is Parker's first name as I recall, and for mission 4 it's Anderson, I think. So, there you go. That was Thunderbirds. I've well and truly had enough of that game now. But I hope you enjoyed me struggling through it. It was fun in its own strange sort of way. Anyway, I'm going to leave that there now. As always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again next time. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please help out the channel by leaving a like or a comment and subscribing. New episodes of Atari A to Z are on Tuesdays and Atari ST A to Z on Thursdays. Check out atariatoz.wordpress.com for a full archive. Do please also check out my other projects moegamer.net, where I explore Japanese and Japanese-inspired games from yesterday and today, and videopackgames.wordpress.com, which aims to catalogue the small but well-formed library of the Philips G7000 Videopack computer, also known as the Magnavox Odyssey 2. You can also support my work on Patreon or buy me a coffee. You can find links to do both down in the video description. Thanks again, and I'll see you next time.